What's up, everybody? So today we got the Explorer back in the garage and we're finally going to install the fender flares. It's been forever since we've had the Explorer on the channel, but here she sits, she's ready to go, and like I said, the flares are finally going to go on. I've been waiting so long to do this, I just haven't had the opportunity to install them just because it's my mom's car, she's always got it, it never can set for a long period of time. But with everything going on in the world and everything being shut down, everybody's kind of working from home, so here she sits. Let's go ahead, take you guys over and show you guys the flares that we got, as well as all the tools and hardware that came with them. So here are the fender flares that we picked up. They are actually designed to fit a 98 to 2011 Ford Ranger, but I figured they should work for the Explorer. Now there are no fender flares that are actually made to fit the Explorer. We're gonna have to modify those to make them fit, but looking at a Ford Explorer next to a Ford Ranger, they basically have the same wheel arches and everything else, so I think those will work. The only thing we're gonna really have to modify is the back there, because obviously we have a fourth door, so these rear fender flares are going to need to get chopped somewhere around here. That way the rear door can open and close without being stuck. Same thing kind of with the front here. I guess they're all going to need modified. These will need trimmed up a little bit, but we'll go ahead, put them up on the Explorer, mock them up and show them to you. As far as the rest of the pieces that came with the kit, it came with this trimming here, which has got the 3M tape, so that'll go up around the edges to help seal it. It's got these other two plastic pieces, which I'm not really sure what to do with those, because obviously it's for a Ford Ranger and I don't think we'll be able to utilize those. And then the kit also came with this hardware here, which we're not going to use. The bolts and stuff that they give us are pretty small, so those are a no-go. I went ahead, decided to go with a rivet or a rib nut style, and then using these bolts here that I picked up. They are Phillip heads, which I'm not really fond of. I would have much rather have gone with what the package came with, where they're like the torque heads. Would have been a little bit nicer, looked a little bit better, but I couldn't find any. So for now, we're going to use the Phillip ones. In the future, if I ever decide to go with or can find torque heads, I may swap them out. But we have the M8 rivets with the M8 bolts, and then we have the rib nut tool in there, so should be all good. So I guess with that being said, let's go ahead and take the fenders, or I guess the fender flares, mock them up on the Explorer, just to give you guys a rough idea, and then we can go ahead and get it all measured out, figure out what needs to be cut, and figure out where the holes need to be drilled to put the rib nuts. Okay, so here are the fender flares mocked up on the Explorer. They're not the best. It's just got some tape holding it. Hopefully it sticks long enough that I can go ahead and show you guys. But over here you can see there's quite a little bit of gap, and that'll close up a little bit more once you do get it tightened down. The tape is just kind of releasing. We need to do a little bit of trimming underneath here to make it so it goes a little bit more flush to the fender. Underneath here, everything seems to be fine. I do need to raise it up a little bit because the tape is starting to sag, but it seems to be okay. And then over here, these fenders do have a bit of a notch in them. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of trimming, especially right here, to make sure that fits flush. And then since this is like from a Ford, or not Explorer, but from a Ford Ranger, they have a different body line right around this area. So for now, we're just gonna leave that and make these fenders work. You can see I do a little bit of notching right here just to match the curvature of the fender, but overall I think these will be fine. The front looks really good. The back, we're gonna need to do a little bit more modifying, just because you can see there, it's got the notched out there, and it kind of bows out a little bit because this bottom half is touching. But we'll take away that kind of stress once you do chop it here for the door to work. And then same thing goes here for the back. Hopefully you guys can see, and it's not too dark. It's pretty close, and there is more room to go forward as well as get it to go underneath there. But like I said, we've got a little bit of trimming here to do, possibly cut that tab off, and then find each one of the holes that we're going to be using to drill out and put the rib nuts in. So for now, let's go ahead and figure out what needs to be cut it out, and then get these so we can find the holes, mark them out, and drill the holes. So now skip ahead a little bit. I went ahead, trimmed all this out, so we got that section cut out so it lines up flush with here. I guess it's not there, but just kind of down here in the bumper, and the corner comes down to here. And then I also went ahead, cut this out here so it'd notch out to fit past this trim marker, or this trim piece, and then smooth this out just so it has a nice transition to line up against that bottom dog leg piece. So next, we should be able to hold it up here. You guys can kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. It lines up right there. So basically all we got to do, find each one of the centers of these holes, drill them out, and then put in our rib nuts.
Perfect.
Okay, so now you guys can see there, we got the rib nuts put in place, and what you guys saw when I put the paint on there, that was self-etch primer, just to keep the paint from behind it like rusting or anything, just to help seal it in. But now we got them all in place, so this fender should be completed. All it's up to do is just go ahead and bolt it on. So this looks sick. We got the first flare on. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It's all nice and flush up against the body. There is going to be a little bit of trim that is going to go up inside there, which is this stuff here. It's just got the 3M tape, just helps seals it in. But yeah, it fits really well. You guys can still see down here, there is a little bit of a gap, but I'm not too worried about that. It lines up with the top of the bumper pretty nicely. So yeah, it looks really good. And then on this side, still got the gap because it is like from my Ford Ranger, like I mentioned previously. And then my edge here, where I cut it out to fit this and line it up closer to the body, still a little jagged, but that trim that we'll put on there will take care of that. And as you guys can see here, I'm still missing 2 bolts. So I got to re-drill out these holes because they're not in the correct position, redo the rib nuts, and then that should be good to go. But yeah, otherwise just having these 5 screws in the top here, real nice and sturdy, not moving anywhere. I'm happy with the way it looks. I think we are definitely going to need some spacers for the wheels because it looks a little sunken battleship right now. So eventually here in the future, we'll get some wheel spacers on this and make them poke a little bit more. But yeah, it looks really good. So next up, we got to do the back one. Figure that out, and then we can jump onto the other side.
Perfect.
That took forever, but the flares are done. They are on the Explorer now, and they look sick. I'm really happy with the way they turned out. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, they are not designed for this vehicle at all. They were designed for a Ford Ranger, but we made them work, and they look awesome. I'm just glad to finally have the time to set aside and get these done. So I'll turn the camera around here just for a second, let you guys see it. Here at the end of the video, we'll go get some outside shots of this to give you guys a better visual. Plus, I'd like to see it outside just because I haven't seen it yet. We just got it completed. So here it is. Here is the Explorer, all done. You can see the fitment on the front fender. Nice and tight. There is a little bit of gaps and stuff back here like you guys had saw previously. I went ahead and put that trim piece on here so it is nice and flush with the fender. And you guys can see the back section. It does have a few more gaps back here. And then obviously where we cut it out, I'm going to try to fix this. Put like a piece of rubber trim or something over top of here. Just to help close the gap a little bit more and make it so it's more smooth, not such a jagged edge. I'm gonna walk back here. Hope you guys can see. There's the gap here. It's not as bad. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with this. I'll take you guys to the other side, let you see the driver's side a little bit more. It is kind of hard to see it in the garage, but here is the front. This side I actually got a little bit better. I mean, I already had practice with the other side. Got it nice and tight, looks good. Back half, same thing. Looks good. And then as far as this goes, I want to do the same thing, kind of gap this out a little bit more. I put some kind of trim piece here just to not have such a jagged edge. I ended up putting like a little piece of plastic. I don't know if you guys can see it in there, just right there, just to extend it out a little bit more, just so it's held up. It still needs to come out just a little bit more because it's not exactly where I want it. You guys can see there, the cut line, and then you guys can see there. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Fits really good. Took a long time getting it to set up properly on how I want it to be. And like I had mentioned, these are for a Ford Ranger, and they're not necessarily designed to be riv nutted to the car. So doing all that was all custom, cutting it, making it fit the car. Very time consuming. Basically with a kit, it pretty much wants you to use these bolts, these nuts here, and it's just mostly for aesthetics. And I think it has these pieces here, which pretty much just mount the fender to the car. So that's if you have a Ford Ranger. Like I said, we don't. We use it for the Ford Explorer. And overall, fit really good. Fits really nicely. Got it all done. Looks awesome. Gonna need to do a little bit of modification like I mentioned. But main thing now is we're gonna need some wheel spacers, because if you guys look down the side of the Explorer here, wheels are pretty sunk in. You can see kind of in the back there. And yeah, I think we're probably gonna need like an 1.5 inch, 2 inch spacer. Bring it out just a little bit more, give it more of an off-road stance, and then eventually give this thing a lift kit. But that'll be here in a future video once we have more time with the Explorer and I'm able to get more parts for it. I'm just really happy to actually have it in the garage today and get this completed. So if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We got plenty more stuff coming. We'll be back on the Civic. We'll eventually be back on Luke's truck once we get some time to do that, and maybe have a few more things for the Explorer. So stay tuned, and don't go anywhere just yet. At the end of the video, we're going to do some walk-arounds of this thing. So stay tuned, and I will see you guys in the next one.